How are you? Welcome again to No Huddle Necessary. I am your host, Jeff Barnes, where the arguments are made by our nuts and bolts sports football writers, with the end of getting 3 minutes of FaceTime at the end to say whatever they feel. We got a lot going on, so we got some fresh faces tonight. One making their first appearance, one making his second, and one who's been missing for long enough that we had to bring him back. So, with all that ado, let's bring in the one and only missing Eagles fan, Thomas Brown. Thomas, how are you?
I'm doing well. How we doing? I like to formally apologize for my lack of communication over the past couple weeks or so. Things have been bogging up, so I'm glad I'm able to be here.
All's forgiven, although you're starting 2 points down. So, nevertheless, all right. So we got an Eagles fan in the house. So what's better than bringing in a Cowboy fan, our Cowboys beat writer, the Gunny himself, Greg Rector? How are you?
I am well. Of course, I've got my paraphernalia here, and we're coming off a victory. What can you say? It doesn't get better than that. That's all it takes.
An improbable one at that.
Highly.
And a new face to the team. I know everybody's seen her around recently. It's the other Prasad, as everybody says on Twitter. We're talking about Aryanna Prasad. Aryanna, welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. Nice to make my first appearance. I'm very excited. I've watched the show, and it's a lot of fun to watch, so I'm even more excited to be a part of it.
Well, we're glad to have you. As you see, everybody's watching. They want to see you do well. And I wouldn't mind if you came on and stole the first show. I just like that kind of drama. That's just me. Good ratings. So everybody knows how it goes. Everybody gets 3 minutes to make their point. If you go over, I get to buzz you. All right. I tally your points. And at the end, we're going to whittle it down to the winner who gets to sit on air for 3 minutes and say what they feel. All right. So with that being said, we're going to get this started and go on to our first quarter question. So, with that being said, we made it through week 2. All right, a lot of surprises, a lot of very good games, very few blowouts. With that being said, we've noticed the trend so far through 2 weeks. A lot of the older names that have been around, Breeze, Rivers, Brady, they're starting to look like they're falling off. And some of the young guys are starting to step up, guys like Jackson, Mahomes, Wilson. So, is it time for us to change the standard for the quarterbacks to the younger guys and less of these older guys? So with that being said, it's going to be the beginner is going to start us off. So, Aryanna, you tell us your opinion on this.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. But I do want to point out that a lot of these veteran quarterbacks, I'm going to pull 3 guys, right? You got Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, and Tom Brady and Phillip Rivers, they just joined new teams, actually. So Tom's with the Bucs now. So that's a factor to consider. Maybe they haven't had the time to build chemistry without a preseason, and then Phillip Rivers is with the Colts. And then, Drew Brees is advancing in age, but we just saw that he lost his top receiver. So when we look at their performances so far, it's only been 2 weeks. They have that time to build chemistry and find other options. So that could be a reason why maybe they're not looking as good now. But I want to point out that actually in the top 10 quarterbacks for QBR, 5 of them are veterans. So I would say that the veterans are still holding their own. Aaron Rodgers has been very good. Ben Roethlisberger has been very good. So I think that the older quarterbacks are still competitive. And I think that being a veteran, it does still matter. And I just want to pull an example from the 2018 Super Bowl between Jared Goff and Tom Brady. I think Brady had that advantage because he was a veteran. When Sean McVay couldn't, talk to Goff in a headset and it was all on him. And it's, you need that playoff experience. Brady was the one who came out. That was a big, part of that game. So, of course, we just saw Mahomes win the Super Bowl, right? And Lamar Jackson, of course, is extremely talented, just won MVP. So these guys are shining. But I think we'll see in the playoffs, I think we're going to still see a lot of veterans.
All right,
But-
good stuff. Good stuff.
Sorry, I don't know if that was 3 minutes or sorry
Oh,
about that.
You still had 42 seconds left, but that's all
Okay.
right. That's all right. You came
Okay.
out guns blazing. I like it. I like
Wait,
it.
I have what? Oh, I have one more point. I do want to bring out that. So I think we know that Patrick Mahomes tried to do his little no look pass, right? You know, he tried to do his no look and he threw an interception last year. And I want to say that Tom Brady, I know I keep pulling on him, but he's a guy, he's been in the league 20 years, but he's perfected this way of like pulling the safety off and then he's going to throw to this other guy, you know? So I think experience does still matter. And if you still have the arm, if you haven't fallen off yet, I think you are always going to have that advantage.
All right. Wow, guns blazing. Way to go. Way to go. Way to go. As we say, way to go, Rook. Way to go. All right, Thomas, the prodigy, the missing prodigy. Come on in and tell us how you feel about it.
I feel like the veterans have to take a back seat on this one. I feel like the game is transitioning to where the pockets are extended. I mean, when pockets are being moved and players are having to be extended, you're asking guys like Rivers, Breeze, Brady to really move outside the pocket and move outside the coverage zone. Those guys that I just named like to stay inside the pocket, like to stay inside the pocket, like to throw the ball all over the field and just keep the ball moving. All right. I just want to share some stats with you real quick. All right. Rivers, his QBR rating so far is a 46.2. That is 28th among quarterbacks. 28th. 28th. Okay. And that now, okay, all right. You say, okay, Rivers, he's on a new team. All right, fine. Let's go to Drew Brees. All right. He is 23rd ranked in yards with 472. Are we sure right now? Are we sure we want to blame the lack of preseason? Because every single quarterback in the league does not have a preseason. Okay. So I'm looking at examples like that, numbers like that, and I say, wait a second. What's going on here? And then you see guys like Wilson, who has 9 touchdowns to just 11 incompletions. 11. Okay. Mahomes and Jackson have yet to throw an interception yet this year. All right. And I'm looking at guys who are able to ignore the fact that they got they didn't have a preseason. They can just go out there and produce. All right. So with that being said, we're looking at the young guys. I think they're just getting it done right now. Aaron Rodgers doing good with the veterans, but you know he's holding his own right now. He got a running game. So as far as I'm concerned, I think the young guys, they got it.
All right. All right. Wow. I tell you go missing. You come back with some valid points. I may have to hide you away for another 3 weeks. All right. Greg, fellow Cowboy fan, come on in. Tell me how you feel.
Well, you know, see these old gray hairs? Yeah, I earned them all. But anyhow, I'm not a guy who really is a big fan of these older veteran quarterbacks. I love what the younger guys do. Plain and simple. They make the game far more exciting. There's no doubt about it. Compared to the traditional drop back quarterback, it's just so much more fun to watch. Now, there's a time and a place to be a drop back quarterback. You have to have that happy medium. If you've got the line in front of you that can protect you, sit back in that pocket, look over the secondary, and hit your guys, right? But in this league, when you're getting pressured, you got to be able to escape. You got to be able to get the ball downfield yourself. And I love watching it. There's nobody more fun to watch for me right now than Lamar Jackson. Not even Mahomes. What Lamar Jackson does is just phenomenal. And that's why he is MVP, and I think he's going to get it again this year. I could watch him play every single day. That's football to me, the way that it's being played today. Now there's a time and a place, like I said, for the drop back quarterbacks, the older guys. And I think the best one is the one that's making his comeback, Mr. Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. If you looked at week 1, no training camp, et cetera, you watch that 2-minute drill he had in the first half. Wow. I mean, that was sheer perfection. You got to be able to do a lot of everything, plain and simple. But the older guys, the Breezes, the Bradys, their time's done. Let's really focus in on what these younger quarterbacks can do. And then we saw another example of it on Sunday. A snap start, didn't even know what was going to happen. Justin Herbert, who Monty, our friend Monty and I, we actually agreed on this, was the steal of the quarterback class for the Chargers. He went out there and played pretty damn well against the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. That was a lot of fun to watch, but he's more traditional, right? So, you got to take what you got. Some guys are not going to be able to do what the Wilsons and the Jacksons and Mahomes do. Other guys, they can do a bit of everything. And still, you're going to have those guys like Herbert, who's going to be that traditional drop-back quarterback. Basically, I really gotta say, I give it to the younger guys. I haven't even talked about Kyler Murray, who's just, wow. He's been on fire as well. But that's the way I look at the quarterbacks these days.
All right. Well, I must say, I enjoy watching the young guys. I really do. At this day and age, you have to have a mobile quarterback, so it's hard for a pocket passer if you don't have protection for him. I don't mind seeing an older quarterback stick around longer than he should if he still could play. Sometimes you get the guy that sticks around longer than he should just because of his name. And I give these guys credit. Breeze and those, yeah, way past his prime. Yeah. He ain't the only one. One of my favorites. No. One of my favorites stuck around. That was Warren Moon. He stuck around way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you guys still all didn't get to see the very best Moon. I got it up here in Canada.
That's true. That's true. But what can I say? It's time to go on to the second quarter. We're off to a hot start. Everybody's out here guns blazing today. I like this. This is, if you're not enjoying this show, I don't know you don't know what you're missing. This is some good stuff right now. So we're going to move on to the second quarter. With that being said, we're going to move on. And a lot of these players have been moving on to the hospital because we've had so many big injuries these first couple of weeks of the season. Look at this week. I think we've had more guys taken off the field than you have on the NBA roster that's playing in the finals this week. So with that being said, what's the worst thing for the NFL to worry about more? We came into the season worrying about COVID. Injuries are taking people out worse than COVID on the NFL. They're not even having too many positive tests. So going forward, what is your bigger concern, COVID or injuries? And we're going to start this one off with Greg. So Greg, start us off.
All right. Well, it's definitely going to be the injuries because the 49ers don't have much of a line left on the defense, do they? 2 guys gone for the year. 7 ACLs in one day. 7. That's frightening, plain and simple. The high ankle sprains, of course, they're come back to haunt people. Michael Thomas, McCaffrey, 4 to 6 weeks. You saw Locke go down for 3 to 5 weeks with a shoulder. That's the toll that's being taken. Even for my Cowboys, week 1, we lost the 3 guys. Boom. It's definitely more of a concern because I think the teams are taking every precaution for COVID that they can take, but injuries are going to happen. And bottom line is with the injuries this year, I don't think that the inter-squad game was enough. I think they needed to actually scrimmage a couple of times against another opponent, get the juices flowing a little bit, get back into the routine of an NFL week. They didn't have that routine of an NFL week. And that really, to me, that was danger. That was a danger sign right then and there, right? So, yeah, bottom line, the injuries are definitely much more of a concern at this point because guys are gone for the year. They're not just going out for a week or so. They're gone for the year. That's not good for the game, plain and simple. You want to see the 49ers defensive line rotate in and out, be fresh like they were last year, and just come after people. You're not going to see that the rest of the year. It's done. And that really is, that's a shame for the game.
Yeah, with the 49ers, It's rough to see all the injuries they had. I'm not so surprised with Bosa because it seems to be that family and injuries go hand in hand. I mean, when's the last time you seen his brother play a full season? So you don't want to see him lost for a season, but that's one of the things when you look at what's going on so far. Yeah, it's been rough for everybody. I don't know of a team that's not affected by injuries.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, Aryanna, come on back and join the conversation. How do you feel about this?
Well, I have to agree with Greg. I definitely think that they're going to be the biggest concern this season. I completely understand why the NFL did what it did in the precautions that it took and not having a preseason and the shortened training camp. And I watched Hard Knocks, so I saw for the Chargers and the Rams all the measures that they were taking, testing over and over. So I feel like the NFL has actually been very successful at building this bubble. I know we had other sports earlier in the year, make some mistakes and everything. I feel like the NFL got to learn from that. They've been really strict. They actually just fined 3 coaches, one of them being Pete Carroll, for pulling down their face masks during the game so they could talk. So I feel like the NFL has a right attitude about coronavirus, but of course, the negative aspect of that is how it's hurting players. So they didn't get all those OTAs. They were training on their own over the summer, so they actually didn't get that impact and their muscles didn't get to build that strength, which is what you need. You actually need to experience the tackles. So because of all that, right? So in week 1 and 2, I was expecting a lot of injuries, but we're talking about, this is going to hugely affect franchises. Like Saquon Barkley is out. What is that going to do to the Giants, right? With the Carolina Panthers not having McCaffrey for a few weeks, we're talking about these running backs that kind of put the team on their back, right, and carried through. But we don't have these guys, so that's going to affect franchises. That's millions and millions of dollars. That's fan bases, and it's just like, how are you even going to get to the playoffs if you're missing your key players? And then, as Greg mentioned, there are actually so many players. The 49ers, like their line, like if you don't have those guys, that was a team that just went to the Super Bowl. So missing those key players, it really just, it's going to affect the whole season. And these are teams that could have maybe gone to the playoffs or the Super Bowl that just don't have that opportunity now. So I think that, coronavirus is obviously still a threat in our country. Hopefully as time goes on, it'll be less and less of a threat. But these injuries, we're just going to keep seeing them this whole season just because they haven't been able to prepare.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Once again, I'm telling
you. Was that too short again?
No, you guys are on fire. I'm gonna give you a little secret. It's very rare I have to buzz anybody. It is usually I usually know who is going to test that buzzer before we even kick the show off. I already know I'm gonna have to sit there like this, getting ready to buzz them off. Most people think they're going long, and they actually have quite a bit of time. But you guys are doing just fine. All right, so we're going from just fine to Thomas. Thomas, come on back in. All right, so it's your turn, man. I'm telling you, you're gonna get a lot of grief tonight, buddy. You got 3 weeks of grief coming your way.
I know, and it's perfectly fine. However, what is not fine is all these injuries that's going on right now. What I like to put it, if I were to put it in a phrase, you could prepare for COVID, okay? Mask, tests, making sure you see anybody with symptoms, you leave them out, you take them out, okay? You can prepare for that. You cannot prepare for injuries. Injuries happen on off days. Somebody get hurt. Okay, you name it, it happens. Okay, so, but I think what's happening now is that it's happening to the stars. It's not just a player that's coming off the bench and playing his snap counts a little bit to get some playing time. No, these are legit big time players to their offenses and defenses, and it's costing their teams. Guys like Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, Solomon Thomas, Nick Bosa. Okay, these guys are literally one of the mainstays of their offenses and defenses. And so what happens is that now we're drawing eyes away from the product because now there's no more intrigue. Okay, now teams like the Giants or even the Panthers to a much higher degree, those expectations were here and there. We wouldn't expect them to go to the playoffs or anything like that. But even still, we were still excited to see McCaffrey and see Barkley and see them do well during the season. Okay, but here's this key point that I don't think anybody's brought it up yet. Those names that I just brought up, most of those injuries happened in the first half. First half. In the early games on Sunday. They happened in the first half. How often do you see that? Okay? And just going aside for Saquon, not just because he's on my fantasy team, unfortunately, he just had to get hurt. Just had to get hurt. Okay? If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure this was kind of a contract year for Saquon. And this is where, you have to sit up there and look like, wow, is this, do I regret playing this season knowing that, I have to worry about my money? You have to start looking at things like that. So especially for guys like Saquon who has to worry about their money, now with them being compromised with their injury, it affects them a whole lot more than people realize. So I think the injuries are playing a much bigger factor than people give it credit for. And I don't think it's going to stop, which is going to really not just mess with a whole lot of people's fantasy teams or just the teams in general. It's going to start messing with the league. People are not going to start watching it. They're not going to start watching backup players for 60 minutes. They're not. Okay? So, you want to make sure that you're able to have those players there. But if injuries keep happening the way they are, it's not good for us. It's not good for the league. It's just not good. And it sucks right now. It's terrible.
Well, I'll tell you
That's
what.
That's where the whole injury thing comes down to, like you said, for Saquon. The dollars? Well, guess what? Saquon's in his year that he could have done what Ezekiel did and held the Giants hostage. He doesn't get to do the hostage taking anymore. Plain and simple. It's over for that.
Well, I'll tell you what. I've seen an injury spree like this once before, and that was 2000. Was it 11?
11.
When the lockout happened.
Again,
right?
which was a year where their entire routine was interrupted. Routine. This is their life. It has been interrupted, and that is what's causing all of this.
Yes.
All of it.
And yes, this game is a game of routine. Everything has to be in cycles. You don't have time to think. It's a game where you have to react, and your body has to react. If your body's not up to conditioning, it's not up to the ability to last a 16-game season, a 10-game season, however long your season is, it's going to show. I can tell you from experience, when I was an offensive coordinator, we signed a running back in the middle of training camp. And right before our first preseason game, he blew out his patella in practice. Yeah, and it wasn't a contact hit at all. It was just a plant and
gone.
Yeah, and just because he didn't go through the conditioning that those guys went through for months, he didn't go through the training those guys went through for months, and it shows. This game, you can tell when a guy hasn't done what he's supposed to have done all off season. Well, we're halfway through. And we're halfway through the show, so we're actually on time. Usually we're a little ahead, so this feels good to actually be on schedule. Just wait till we throw some commercials in here. That's going to be great.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
That's only because there's a certain guy named Armando who's not around.
Well, he's watching, Greg. So
I know. I've seen him up on the screen, right?
With that being said, we're going to the third quarter. So I try not to be a homer when it comes to questions on this show, but some reason this team can't seem to avoid sneaking into my questions the first 2 weeks of the season. Last week it was because of a call in the fourth quarter of a game that they lost. This week there were so many dumb calls that they had. So today's question is more of a dumb and dumber question. Because plain and simple, for 57 minutes, the Cowboys made so many dumb decisions that everybody believed they were going to lose. And then in 2.5 minutes, the Rams decided to say, hold my beer, and make even worse decisions. So with that being said, the Cowboys seem to sneak out of there with a win. Their season's saved and everything's all right with the world. But the Rams, excuse me, excuse me, the
Falcons.
Falcons, Rams, Falcons.
I was about to say, I was like the 2-0 team.
But the Falcons, on the other hand, I mean, how do you come back from that? So they're 0-2. Okay, they just lost the game that they basically gave away because all you had to do was fall on the ball after 5 yards. I don't know who the special teams coach is, but I would have duct taped them to the wall if it was me. But anyway, getting back to the question, you tell me, can the Falcons come back from this? So Greg started us off last time, so I'm tempted to throw the Eagles fan out there first. All right, Thomas, tell us what you think.
Boy, I sure hope so. They better figure it out. And I'm not the guy to hit the panic button so many times. But if the Falcons can't figure it out, Dan Quinn will be out of a job. Okay, back-to-back leads blown. Really? Okay, and let's just focus on Sunday. Okay, because we want to have like a memory remorse with us. Okay, so here we go. 29-10 heading into halftime. 14 unanswered points by Dallas in the third quarter. And literally the worst execution on an onside kick I have ever seen in my lifetime. I've been on this earth for 19 years. I have never seen a worse execution on an onside kick in my life. Okay? And that ultimately led to a game-winning field goal. Okay? Now, I know a lot of people are saying, okay, well, they play good, back-to-back good offenses. They had to go against Russell and DK Metcalf and Lockett and Carson and Olsen to a lesser degree. They had to deal with weapons. They had to deal with weapons the first week. And in the second week, they had to deal with Prescott and Cooper and Lamb and Zeke. Okay, and Gallup to a lesser degree. They had so much on their plate. They had a lead in both games. I don't understand how unacceptable that is. That is uncalled for. Okay, but you know what? You want to look to the future? Fine. This week they go against the Bears. I'm sorry. All right, they have the Bears coming to town. If Mitchell Trubisky has a great game and ends up pulling out a W for the Chicago Bears against this Atlanta Falcons team, oh my goodness. I know people thought Dan Quinn was on the hot seat before, okay? But sooner rather than later, this boy is about to be on the couch in a burning building because it's ridiculous what's going on in Atlanta right now, okay? And you know what? The defense is not so great. Fine. Even still, I believe that the offense is so prolific. We've seen it for back-to-back weeks. The offense is so prolific that it's able to hold them above water. Okay? All they have to do is finish. Just finish. That's it. All they have to do is finish, and that was it. Okay? And apparently they can't seem to do that. And just from my last point, can we please get Todd Gurley the ball, please? Can we get him a little bit more and more involved in the offense? I would appreciate it. This is, what? And it just had to be Dallas last week. This had to be Dallas. You know what? I'm done.
Right on time, too. Right on time. Yeah, I know it's frustrating, especially when the Eagles are 0-2. I get it. Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow. Aryanna, save him from this madness.
I don't think I can. I don't know what to say when it comes to the Falcons. I guess, to me, when you look at it in the 2016 season, you're talking about one of the best offenses in history, right? Matt Ryan getting it done. Julio Jones, as we all know from fantasy, incredible receiver. But then, they blew that lead 28-3, right? And that, of course, became its own historic moment, unfortunately, for the Falcons. I really honestly feel that ever since then, they haven't really been able to recover. So I think they're still experiencing that Super Bowl hangover. But, hey, guys, it's been 4 years now. Come on, it's time to get it together. The sad thing for me is that their offense is still very capable, as we've mentioned. They actually did do well offensively. against the Seahawks in the first week, right? Matt Ryan threw for 420 yards. And, yeah, they were up in the Cowboys game as well. I don't know exactly how many yards he threw, but obviously we saw he scored 39 points. So, okay, he's extremely talented. And he's a large part of that offense. I know in the Seahawks game, they weren't even using Gurley that much. So it's him, it's Julio, it's Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage. He's got these great receivers. But it's a whole team thing, right? So the defense hasn't been that strong, and that's part of why they lost the Super Bowl. They were getting gassed at the end of the game, and Patriots were just able to come back. And then a big part of this, honestly, is the coaching, right? So Thomas mentioned and you mentioned as well, the kick, right? The onside kick. How did they mess that up? And I watched a replay. I'm watching the guys watch the ball go past them. They don't understand that they can get on this ball. They're not understanding what the rules are. And that to me is so basic. Your special teams should know what the rules are. Of course, in a game like that, that turnover, it made the difference in the game. So how do you not know that, guys? You're professionals. But can I really blame the players, or it's the coach, right? It's Dan Quinn. So, okay, he blew the lead in the Super Bowl. He blew this with the Cowboys. Yeah, he's on the hot seat. Coaches do get fired in the middle of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Quinn's gone before week 8, But yeah, and I'm just looking at their division, right? So, they're 0-2, right? And so are the Giants. So, yeah, I don't see them. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm mixing up the Cowboys and the Falcons. But you have the Bucks and the Saints in that division. I don't feel like the Falcons are getting it this year. As far as that Cowboys, I feel like they could still be competitive in their division. But yeah, I think that the Cowboys, they made their mistakes too, but of course they were able to come back. That really shows you the testament of what a team is capable of. Dak, of course, is extremely talented. But yeah, I feel like if anyone's going to blow a lead like that, it's going to be the Falcons, right? It's just become this joke at this point. And it is sad because they have what it takes, but mentally, I feel like they've been beat. And actually, I was thinking about it, and it kind of reminds me of, we saw in week 1, Steven Gostkowski, right? He missed all those kicks in the Titans game. And it's like a mental game. And then when it came to the game winner, he was able to pull through and he won the game, right? But he missed so many kicks before that. So for the Falcons, it's how many more misses are you going to be able to handle until you can pull through? If they can mentally overcome these huge losses, these very embarrassing losses, then maybe they have a shot at this season, but I really don't know.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. And with that being said, we're going to bring in Greg to close this one out. Greg, your turn.
All right. Well, Dan Quinn, you are about to be history. I think he is going to be the very first coach gone this year. Week 1, because I live out here in the West, my broadcast rights holders, I get every Seahawks game, whether I like it or not, and I don't. I despise the Seahawks, but anyhow. They blew week 1 by failing 4 straight times to convert 4th downs. They had the Seattle Seahawks beaten if they did not give good old Russ that short field time and time again. So there went a 450-yard passing day for Ryan, etc. Gone. And then, of course, we just saw the collapse that happened this week. The biggest problem that the Falcons have is they are very fragile. They do not have the intestinal fortitude to overcome something bad happening to them. And we see this a lot of times in sports. I'm sorry, as great as Julio Jones is, I've never seen Julio Jones be a guy to absolutely demand the football. Right? He doesn't demand the football. He's one of the top 3 wide receivers in the game, but you don't see him demanding the game to take over when it matters the most. Matt Ryan's an excellent quarterback, but again, they don't ever execute when they need to. And trust me, as a long suffering Cowboys fan who put up with that decade of the redheaded clapper boy, that doesn't. No, Monty, he's not going to be first. I'm sorry, Monty. That's not going to happen. But getting back to my point, you can't continue in the NFC South, especially with the Saints and the Bucks there. There's no way that this team's even going to compete in the division right now. None. They're done. after week 2. They are done. And Dan Quinn should be gone. If you have a coaching staff that doesn't understand to prepare your guys for that scenario, and like we were talking about before, that ball goes 5 yards, you fall on that sucker. You have the advantage as the hands team. You don't stop and stare at the thing. You haven't been coached if you do something like that. They haven't been coached. So that staff, they should be gone. And that's the whole lot of them in Atlanta. It's really, really disappointing to see what they've done to that franchise. They deserve better. Those players deserve better. Plain and simple. But they're done. There's no coming back from this 0-2 start for them in that division. Not a chance. There you go.
Well, you've had numerous occasions of players over the years either forgetting or not knowing the rules. Whether you can go back to the 70s with Jim Marshall running the wrong way with a fumble.
Leon Lett.
Well, I was going to say Leon Lett. And be honest, I played football for a couple of years. I had no idea that it wasn't a live ball if you blocked a field goal and it went down that far. I had no idea until I saw what Leon Lett did. Donovan McNabb. We all know about that situation. Thomas, yes.
But 11 of them didn't know.
Yes. Well, listen, I've been taught since day one when I was on a hands team, 5 yards, jump on the football.
That's right.
Your teammate jumps on you to protect you from the guys that are going to come rip it out. When I saw them watching the ball go 5, 6, 7, 8, and I sat there and I said, if they let that go 10 and I'm going to jump out of my seat, because how do you do that? All I can say is, I'm shocked that they didn't fire the special teams coach Monday. I
think they're all gone. They're all gone.
Yeah. Well, if Dan Quinn's gone, that's definitely happening. There's not going to be an interim guy on that staff. Raheem Morris, all of them are out.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Thomas?
That kick doesn't happen. We're not talking about the kick if they hold on to the lead. They were leading 29-10 at halftime.
How about
only the Falcons?
Well, listen, the Cowboys didn't make it. Listen, that game could have been over when they decided to go for 2 when they didn't need to. Dallas didn't need to go for 2.
We gave that away. We gave it away in the fourth quarter by going for 2. I'm sitting there going, are you kidding me? What? I know Garrett's back. Oh no.
No. Garrett would have kicked the extra point.
Well,
so that's the case. That game was as a guy that still, I consider myself more of an old school coach than this new school coach that says I have to have numbers for every scenario. The best coaches know their team. You can say what you want about Belichick. He'll know the numbers, but he'll know when his team is ready to break, when to take a risk, and when to play it safe. And it has nothing to do with numbers. It has to do with knowing your roster.
I'll disagree. I'll disagree a little bit on that one. That last call against the Seahawks, they called the wrong play completely.
I agree. Yeah. I would have gone with a spread look there if I was going to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have run that. Granted, they've beaten them all night with it, but I definitely would have gone a different route. I think they had seen it enough at that point. They were due to stop it at least once. But all right. So with that being said, we're ready for the fourth quarter. So throw up the 4s. It is time for the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So we're ready for week 3 of the season. Got some pretty big matchups coming up. So I'm going to throw out 2 matchups, and you tell me which one you think is the better matchup and why. Well, I should say the bigger matchup, not so much the better. All right. So you got the Rams at Bills, both 2-0 teams. Bills are the talk of the town because their young quarterback is finally throwing for 300 yards a game. But they haven't really played anybody yet. So they're going to get their first real test. All right. And then on the other side, the NAFC championship game that everybody wanted but didn't get, the Chiefs and the Ravens. So, ladies first for the fourth quarter. Aryanna, you're up first. Let's hear you.
All right. Well, I feel like I'm interested in the Bills and Rams game, but I have to say, I feel like this one is so obvious. Chiefs, Ravens. As you said, this is a game that we all want to see and have been wanting to see. I mean, we've just been talking about like the best young quarterbacks in the league. Okay, Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes, league MVP, Lamar Jackson, like that whole new offense, right? We see Mahomes is always slinging it, looking like a baseball player, and he just gets it down the field. Those games are so much fun to watch. But then we look at Lamar Jackson, he's getting it done too. He's that mobile quarterback, he's unpredictable. And again, it's just there's so much high energy. It's great to watch. The Ravens also have had, historically such a solid defense. You feel like the Chiefs are also building up their defense. They have Tyrann Mathieu in their secondary, and they have Frank Clark. So I feel like the Chiefs are strengthening that part of their game. And I just feel like this is, it's so early in the season, but we get such a treat. We get such a competitive game that, we'll probably end up seeing later in the season, if I'm being honest. These teams will probably make it to the playoffs, probably face off at some point. But, even if they don't, like, just seeing this now, it's always interesting when we start a season. Sometimes, as you mentioned, like with the Bills, like they haven't had a true test yet. So it'll be interesting to see them go against the Rams. But when we see the Chiefs and Ravens, like these teams, we know that they're really going to test each other. And it'll be interesting to see where they are at this point in the season. We've seen so many different NFL teams. Oh, sorry. We've seen so many different NFL teams undergo so many huge changes this offseason. Tom Brady left his team, went to the Bucks, right? Phillip Rivers. Those are huge, like impactful decisions. But we have these teams that have been strong. They were strong last year, and they don't have too many big changes this year. We know the Chiefs just got LSU running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he's been fantastic. So it'll be interesting to see that. But I don't know. This is just going to be a fun, I feel like almost arcade style game. But as I said, the defenses are good. So maybe they'll, present some interesting challenges against one another. I don't know. This is the game that I'm looking forward to. So.
All right. Listen, that's a strong finish. We got some really interesting scores if these keep up. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a fun exit for somebody or for a couple of people. All right. Greg, you're up next.
All right. Well, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take the Rams and the Bills. Plain and simple. I want to see what the Bills actually have. We know what the Chiefs and the Ravens are. They are two elite football teams. We're going to see an elite matchup. But the more interesting one is Josh Allen against Aaron Darnold and that Rams defense. Let's see as well what the Jared Goff and company can do against this Bills defense, which is not too shabby a unit either. I want to see if it's going to continue the hookups to Tyler Higbee. He was just unreal this weekend. Those 3 touchdown catches. For me, that's the more interesting game. Not to say that seeing those two big boys go at it isn't going to be interesting, but I've got a third game for me that's even far more interesting to me, and that's going to be the two older guys, Breeze and Rodgers, going at it. That to me is a far more interesting game than what we're going to see with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, because all you're going to see is two superb teams go at it, hammer and tong for 60 minutes. That's fine, that's great. But there are other things out there happening that we want to see develop in this league too. The marquee matchup, sure, I'm going to watch that, but you better believe I'm going to have my eyeballs on that Rams and Bills game, because that there is such an interesting dynamic with these two teams. Are the Bills for real? That's going to be the factor right now. If they're real, the AFC East is theirs. They will win that division. And that's interesting to look at. And the same thing really applies for the Rams. Take away week one, because week one, I mean, that was not a good football game for either the Rams or the Cowboys. When you really break it down, it really wasn't. 2017, but last week, what the Rams did, that was exciting, plain and simple. They really played a superb football game, and I want to see if they're able to do that again, week after week, and not have the inconsistency that they had last year. They look to be a whole lot better. let's see if they really are.
With that being said, Thomas, prodigy, missing prodigy, your turn.
If I have to listen to Tyler Higbee scoring 3 touchdowns on my Eagles defense one more time, I don't know what I would do. Okay, but I think the obvious answer is Chiefs and Ravens. Primetime TV, Monday Night Football. I want to do my little, intro to Monday Night Football. Okay, here we go. Primetime TV, Monday Night Football. MVP versus MVP, a pair of unbeatens. Okay, the question is, will either quarterback throw an interception? They haven't thrown an interception yet. It's been 2 games, but they haven't thrown an interception yet. There's some quarterbacks that I know they've thrown 4 already. Carson Wentz. Okay, so and not to say that the Rams and Bills won't be a great game, but I'm predicting more of a low-scoring affair. I think Goff won't have a repeat of what happened last week. I think the Bills' defense is much more stiffer than Philly's, unfortunately. And so they're going to get after him, believe it or not. And I think as far as Goff's concerned, he's going to get pretty uncomfortable too. Tre'Davious White, that defense is still stout. It's still effective. It's still led by a defensive coach, and Sean McDermott, who's going to lead the way for them. But I'm looking at Chiefs and Ravens because Jackson is 0-2 against Mahomes so far in his career. 0-2. Okay, he has something to prove. Okay, all right. Now, this is why this is the perfect time for Jackson. Okay, this is why he can't miss this opportunity. Okay, all right. The Chiefs' defense last week allowed 183 yards, 4.2 yards per carry, a touchdown to Eckler and the Chargers last week. Okay, given the fact that the Ravens are a running team, that should put a whole lot of smiles on Ingram faces, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Lamar. They're going to get theirs, okay? All right? And their passing defense wasn't impressive either. I mean, they literally almost lost to a snap start of Justin Herbert throwing for 311 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, okay? And lastly, the Chiefs only have 3 healthy cornerbacks. Okay, so the secondary is depleted. Okay, I'm expecting for Lamar Jackson to take full advantage of that and to try to even up the record against Mahomes, because if Mahomes get another one against Jackson, we might be talking about Mahomes having Jackson's number. Okay, and yes, the teams are so vastly different in terms of talent. But I don't think the Ravens have a hole. I really don't. Okay, top to bottom, they're great. Kicker, running back, quarterback, defense, wide receiver. Okay, they don't have a hole. They really don't. So I think that would be a great matchup for everybody to see. Maybe it won't be so high scoring, like maybe like higher 40s or anything like that. But I'm expecting somewhat of a 35, 30.
Conduct, 15 yards.
You're the first one to get buzzed tonight, man. You're the first one.
Now here's the difference. Here's the difference. There you are going on about Mahomes and Jackson. Mahomes, Jackson. You probably talk the same way about basketball too, and all that jazz. It is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Baltimore Ravens. It's the Rams versus the Bills. You guys got to get this quarterback versus quarterback thing. They're never on the field at the same time against one another. Stop it. Stop. It does not make sense.
It doesn't change the fact that the record is what it is.
Yeah.
They can't seem to beat
They
them.
answer each other, right? Their points always answer each other, right? They're never on the field at the same time, but they're having that dialogue, right? And that's what we like to watch.
It is the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs is my point. Stop focusing on the names on the backs, kids. It's the names on the front. Those live forever. Everybody else is gone sooner or later.
Well, as we know with Matt Ryan, football is a team sport, right?
there you are. I mean, that's the whole thing, though. It's something that has always been a beef of mine ever since after Bird and Magic. That's when that started. It was Bird versus Magic in the NBA. And then all of a sudden, in every sport, it's the quarterback versus the quarterback. It's this basketball player against this basketball player. No, it's not. The franchises stick to that. That's what matters. Oh, Monty. NFL records.
Yeah, I like it.
How many more
Monty's on
times
my
do I have to
side.
tell you? How many more times do you have to be told about NFL records, Monty? 450 passing yards, scoring 3 touchdowns. As no quarterback has ever done that. None. One now.
Monty, you got him started. Why?
And we had such a loving time together on Sunday. We were agreeing on stuff. It was horrible.
All right. So, with that being said, it is that time of the night. So we're going to crown a winner. Give them their FaceTime. We're going to come back and talk a little more and have fun with Monty in the chat room there. So, with that being said, and once again, how it goes, if you ain't, it's like Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last. So if I usher to you back, it doesn't mean you're at first. Doesn't mean you're in last place. It just means dramatically I sent you to the back first. You know? So the beautiful thing is at this point, I get to play spoiler. And, you know, as much as I dread the Eagles, it's always a fun sending Eagles fans to the back. So, with that being said, the Eagles fan is actually going to stick around another round. So, sorry, Greg, you're going to the back right now. But stick around, Gunny.
Oh, gosh. And then there were 2.
Yes. So, with that being said, is it the newcomer or is it the missing icon? Scoreboards.
The newcomer or the latecomer?
That's a better one. I'm still, man.
No offense, Thomas.
Oh my goodness.
Thomas,
Okay,
everybody's got something for you, brother. It is what it is. But with that being said, I will not be celebrating the Eagles win tonight. It is the newcomer, Aryanna, taking the win tonight.
Whoa.
So, Aryanna. All right. So, with that being said, Aryanna, you have 3 minutes. The floor is yours. You claim your FaceTime. I'm heading to the back.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I would just like to say, as far as my arguments go, to tie everything together, I'm really looking forward to this season. I know that we're going to see a lot of injuries. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do here. I don't know if I should gloat or just talk about the NFL, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to this season. I know we're going to see a lot of injuries on these teams. And of course, for any fantasy owners, I know we're worried about that, but I'm really interested to see how all these changes affect everyone in the league, and to see how our teams all adapt. You know, it'll be interesting to see whether the Falcons can come back from this, how the Giants will move forward, who's going to win each of these divisions. I know I report on the Seahawks. So that NFC West division, you know, we say West is best. Like, that's a very competitive division right now. We see the Cardinals coming up. So, yeah, it's just going to be a great year. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm very honored and surprised that I won. Of course, I did my due diligence and tried to do my research, but I was nervous to come on No Huddle Necessary. I have always enjoyed this show, and it's just been so much fun to watch, and I wonder, how do these guys do it, you know? So I'm very honored that I was picked to have my moment. So thank you so much, Jeff. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just really excited about this year. I'm really excited to be a part of NBS. I think this is a great network. I admire what everyone is doing. I admire all the shows that people have started and the initiative that people are taking and all the preparation that Jeff has put into this show. So just a big shout out to you. I think this is fantastic what you're doing. And thank you for giving us, you know, sports fans and journalists a platform to share informed opinions, share passionate, sometimes, you know, just emotional opinions. But I'm just really grateful. So.
I'm just gonna say that's the first Oscar type acceptance at the end. I'm amazed. It was great. It was great. I'm gonna bring the guys back in.
Thank you. Should I have gloated about my favorite teams or something? The Seahawks are amazing.
It's
Filling it out there.
you can talk about whatever you want when you want.
Yeah.
When you win. That's the whole point of winning. The floor is yours. We've had people talk about social justice. We've had people talk about
I should have talked about that.
Three minutes FaceTime, you get to say whatever you like. Plain and simple.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Okay, follow me on Twitter. No.
You guys, thank you. I appreciate the kind words, but this is about you guys. We have so many talented writers on this staff that this show was about you guys. People getting connected with your work online and now getting connected with you personally on screen. So that's what I wanted to bring to you guys, and you guys are killing it. So I just get to sit here and have all the fun and judge. So I'm your Simon Cowell. So that's the beauty of my job, and I just get the pretty banner behind me. That's it. But it's always a good week when I don't have to go, okay, fly Eagles fly. But
you had to. Don't let me, Jeff. Don't let me find out. Don't let me find out you're scheming.
Listen. You're lucky I didn't enforce my -2 points on you today. All right, that's all I know. No.
Mahomes. I thought I had to come back.
No, I leveled the playing field. I leveled the playing field, but yeah, I think I gave you enough grief with all the gifts that I put up about you this week. So, luckily I didn't have that Thanos snap gif on this platform. I would have played it during the show, but
you might have won tonight there, young lady, but you're not going to enjoy Sunday afternoon. You're really not.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we actually stayed ahead in week 1, and you guys just, came back for that. And there was that whole kick thing, and the Falcons blew the lead. So I really don't know.
There's a little. There's just a.
It's gonna get ugly.
Okay, all right.
The one thing I find interesting is you see Seahawks games at home now with all this going on, and
it's dead quiet.
There's no
quiet. Jerry's world is always quiet, so I mean it doesn't matter to the Cowboys. They like that because they're used to it. We have no crowd noise in the mausoleum that he built.
Well, Idiot. I'll tell you what. I like the new stadium in Dallas. I like the newer crowd that we get at home games because honestly, the Texas Stadium crowd was like a tennis match. Oh
yeah.
Yes.
Slow. It's still almost as bad because you can't hear any of them. You just can't hear them. You put 110,000 people into a place, you can't hear them, and you think Seattle can influence a game? Turn it up to 110,000. But no, not good old Jerry. No.
Yeah, well, he tried. Unfortunately, our fans boo for anything, and they cheer when we're only winning big. So
yeah, they're not the they're not the best fans. I'll give it to you, Thomas. That's a fan base. That's noise. That's what it's supposed to be like. Philly.
You know what?
The
You know what? If Wentz plays another bad game, the crowd.
Oh God.
They're gonna be hoping the snow falls because they want to get those snowballs happening again real soon.
Listen,
Philadelphia will be on fire.
Philadelphia definitely has the most loyal, but ornery fans. And I'm gonna tell you a story about them, and I'll tell you about Armando's people, the Jet fans. Okay, there's no crazier fan base than the Jet fans. All right, but my Eagles fan story goes as this. All right, and this comes from an Eagles fan friend of mine. All right, 1999, Michael Irvin goes down on the Veterans Stadium turf. All right, there was an Eagles fan that every game after that, every home game, wore pads with a cowboy helmet, a Michael Irvin jersey, and the face mask open, strapped to the board, and he walked around the stadium like that. And every section he went through, the Eagles fans cheered.
Yep.
Okay. So then the Jet fans. Okay.
Fireman, damn.
And you might enjoy this one because this is a Seahawks story. All right. They were playing 1999 or 98. I forget which season it was. Joey Galloway was with the Seahawks. Okay. He returns a punt return for a touchdown. There was a row of Seahawks fans there. They started
98.
cheering. They started cheering. And this is why you never root for the opposing team at a Jets game. Right. They started cheering. They wore every beer in the row behind them. Yeah. Jet fans,
class.
Jets fans are the craziest.
That's why they don't win.
So
there's lots of reasons.
Well, their big reason right now is 4 letters.
Gaze.
G-A-S-E.
Gaze.
That's a dysfunctional organization. I'm sorry to all these Jets fans. I'm not trying to hate, but when we look at the NFL, like we look at the stable organizations and then the ones that, Ravens, Chiefs, Seahawks, Patriots, like they're so stable. And then they're competing against, honestly, these teams. It's total chaos, So it's like, this is not a fair fight.
There was a time they said that about Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Oh,
you go back. No, because you guys were not even born then. We're talking John McKay, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Woo! You want UGLY football? Oh my God!
Ugly
and it was
uniforms.
And it was orange.
The creamsicle. Nah.
Oh,
I'm not about that.
And it was 6 years of absolute sheer hell if they were on TV. Flick, goodbye, because it wasn't a football game. That's how bad they were.
Yeah.
But then again, Cleveland's been doing that for 40 years.
Whew.
Oh yeah. Well,
when they had Brown left,
they were actually good when they had Kozar.
Yeah, they weren't too bad. They had a little.
Thomas don't remember.
No.
There's been such a long list of quarterbacks. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Menzel.
Come on.
You mean Pinata?
Yeah, Menzel. No, I mean just go back a few years. Can you believe that? Oh.
I mean,
they're all of their highlights of them getting hit by somebody. They're pinatas.
The whole trouble is when you get into all those franchises that have sucked all these years, it's the same common issue. There's horrible people that have been at the top.
Yep.
Horrible.
Always. Yep. And keep firing the coaches. How can you ever build anything if you keep firing your coaches and you don't have that faith, right? Sometimes I like what they did with Gruden and with the Raiders, right? It took him a few years, but he got the guys he liked in, and they had a pretty strong game against the Saints. So
Gruden comes in there. Gruden comes in there knowing full well what they had in store at the draft the very next year. He already knew that coming in.
Yeah.
And then they added a real football guy to be the GM in Mayock. Yeah. And Mayock and Gruden got in simpatico. Now, you watch that game Monday night, right? Mm-hmm. They're all talking about Henry Ruggs. Not me. Edwards was the guy I was talking about. And Edwards was the guy that had the game.
Yeah.
Because if you scouted, like they said during the broadcast, you want to compare that body type, that's Des Bryant Redux right there in that Edwards kid. And he was phenomenal.
That was the smart move, was hiring Mayock, because you brought in a guy that knows the college game. He was a commentator, but he was a guy that every year, like myself, sitting there scouting for the draft. The college kids coming out, and it's not okay. Bring me a list of names from my scouts. Bring me my scout. He knew exactly what he wanted, who he wanted, and then he relies on his scouts to do the legwork. So, but he could always pick up a phone and say, "Hey, coach, I got extra guy on my board. Is he worth it? No. All right, bye. That's
you take the nightmare that Jeff and I have gone through since 1995 in Dallas until a guy named Will McClay came to town, and it's gotten better and better and better because they're listening to a scout, a guy that knows the players.
Yeah. That he does. And as a lot of things Jerry is, but he does listen to the right people. Sometimes it's the wrong people, but he at least listens.
For 20 years, he listened to the wrong people because he was having lots of conversations with himself.
Yeah. Well, no.
I thought Jerry listened to Jerry.
Jerry can listen to Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry will listen to Jerry. But, when it came to football, he'll listen to certain people. Sometimes he gets the wrong people in his ear, and it kind of worked back another way when he brought Parcells in, because then he learned a little more about what guys not to go after, But the biggest mistake in the draft he ever made was the guy he didn't pick, not the guy.
That's right. Yeah, right? I know who you're going to say.
Right. So if he would, in 1998, if he would have taken Randy Moss instead of Greg, they would have gotten another. They would have gotten a Super Bowl ring again.
Oh,
but we could not. No, we could not draft Randy. There was no way, PR wise, that the Cowboys would have been able to do it. They were under so much fire.
Would you have trusted him in the locker room with Michael Irvin?
No. And that was the other issue, right? You still had Michael. Woo, Mike. Hi, Mike. I mean, that was, but they just couldn't do it. But had they done it, oh my God. Oh, what an offense. Oh.
Well,
could have been the dynasty.
We're going to continue this conversation.
They just came off of having that dynasty, though.
Yeah.
This was just a couple of years later.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation in the green room. I'm going to bump you guys to the back and sign off. All right, so don't hang tight. All right. So once again, we've had another great show. First time winner, first appearance. What can you say? Listen, it's unpredictable. The writers come on, they make their case. With that being said, this is Jeff Barnes for No Huddle Necessary. Stay tuned until next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, for another great show coming at you. These writers are amazing. I can't do it without them.